and welcome to another episode of the TEW 2016 Challenge Run. We are booking SmackDown Live and 205 Live here today. Without any further ado, let's just jump straight into it. SmackDown starts with the first appearance of WWE Champion Aleister Black. He comes out, obviously with his mysterious entrance, sits in the ring with a title around his waist, would grab a microphone. It would do the aesthetic thing where the lights would still be off as he's about to speak. Before he can speak, Daniel Bryan and Rowan come out to the ring. And Bryan says that, no, this isn't what's happening because Aleister Black won the WWE title, but in case Black misheard last week, Bryan is still the Planet's champion. This championship that he made himself, Aleister Black did not win that. He won the WWE title, and everyone knows that Bryan's championship is the most valuable championship in WWE. Aleister Black is not, because as evidenced when Bryan threw that belt in the trash when he brought in the new title, that's how much that title is worth. So anyone carrying around that championship is not the real champion, and it is Bryan's championship that means more. And then he'd be interrupted, as we said yesterday on Monday Night Raw. There'll be new general managers coming to SmackDown and Raw and 205 Live. The new SmackDown manager makes his presence felt. None other than The Big Show comes out, and he says, I took the reins as the new SmackDown manager because things have been getting out of hand, and who better to get control back onto a show than a 7-foot, 500-pound giant who you're not going to want to piss off as your boss. And he says that Bryan is out of order. Aleister Black is the official WWE champion. Daniel Bryan is just going crazy. There's nothing to read into it. However, at Money in the Bank in 2 weeks' time, let's put Bryan's little mind at ease. We already have 2 ladder matches on that show. How about we have a third ladder match. Bryan can hang his WWE Championship 20 feet above the ring. Aleister Black can hang his WWE Championship 20 feet above the ring. We'll have a good old standard winner take all to crown the not undisputed, but it wouldn't be called the Undisputed Championship. It would just be the Undisputed WWE Champion, because they'd take both belts. They'd get to keep whichever belt they want and get rid of whatever belt they don't want to keep. And then Bryan's like, no, I don't want to put my belt on the line. But then he starts mouthing off saying, that's a terrible decision, you're a terrible GM. But obviously Big Show being 7 foot tall just like towers over Bryan, who's trying to start on him, and he's like, Bryan backs away, and he's like, no, okay, I guess I'll defend my title. Cementing early that Big Show, being a 7-foot guy, is not a boss you're going to want to piss off. So yeah, made for Money in the Bank, WWE Championship, Aleister Black, Daniel Bryan. We then get a match following last week. Robert Roode and Finn Balor are both in that fatal 4-way with Ricochet and Rusev. And they have another one-on-one match, a rematch from Backlash, or Payback. Payback was a SmackDown show. And Roode pins Finn Balor clean with a glorious DDT. So surely he's now got another Intercontinental Championship match in his future. We then get a recap of the women's segment from last week with Alexa Bliss, Charlotte Flair, and Shayna Baszler. And then they'd cut back and we'd see Alexa in her locker room. And Charlotte would come up to her and she's like, I know that we haven't really got along recently, but Shayna is this dominant women's champion. She beat up Ronda Rousey, got rid of her. She made Asuka pass out. So really, if we're going to have to do this, if we want to take Shayna down, we're going to have to work together, put our differences aside, and try and take her out. Alexa, she's very skeptical, but then she does sit there and she knows, well, she is like, Charlotte has a point because I may have beaten Charlotte, but I'm 5 foot little Alexa, and Shayna is like this MMA badass who could probably beat her. And yeah, so basically has to consider what Charlotte's saying because she realises that might be true. We then get a pre-tape video package of R-Truth and Curtis Axel in sort of like a lab sort of area, talking about, damn, I thought we had Orton last week. We're the Snake Busters, man. How can we let that snake beat us? Then they'd be in a room with like a reptile expert, and he'd bring the snake out and obviously startle Truth. Then Axel would be like, calm down. And then he'd be trying to break down the anatomy of a snake and like what snakes do. Like teaching Axel and Truth all about snakes, and they're listening intently. And then Truth's like, we don't want to know how to train a snake. We want to know how to bust one. And then the guy's like, what? You're going to kill my snake? Axel's like, no, Truth, we're not going to kill it. Listen, we've got a problem. We need to know how to stop a snake should one attack us. And then the guy would go, okay, follow me and I'll show you all about that. So R-Truth and Curtis Axel, following their defeat to Randy Orton last week, keeping the Snake Busters alive and learning from reptile experts themselves what to do in the event of a snake attack. So maybe next time Randy Orton comes for them, they'll be prepared. We get the match from last week teased. It's Hardy Boys against Apollo and Bobby Lashley, which ends in a no DQ when the Bar come out and attack both teams, causing a double DQ. Then they would continue to beat both teams up after the match. They'd Leo would get in there trying to help his guys, but Leo would probably eat a brogue kick because I reckon he'd sell that like death. And then they would just scream, "We are the Bar. We decide who gets our tag title shot. And neither of you teams are worthy enough to face us." We then get Lars Sullivan in a squash match against Brendan Bennett. Whatever. Lars gets a win. Big Show's backstage in his new office, putting the finishing touches on his office, where an angry Rusev would barge in, and he'd be like, why is Rusev not booked on this show? I'm one of your hottest stars, your biggest draws, yet once again I've been disrespected, and I'm getting sick to death of being overlooked on this show, and now you're here, show. It's time for you to pull your finger out of your ass and sort out opportunities for your biggest star. And Big Show's like, well, we've already got the show booked, and actually one of you is wrestling tonight, but it's not you, Rusev, it's actually Lana, because there'll be a fatal 4-way women's match and a men's match. She decided the last two SmackDown spots are Money in the Bank. Lana is in that one, so she needs to get out here and get ready to compete, whereas Rusev storms out angrily, still not happy that he's not been booked yet again. We then get that women's fatal 4-way match, and it is Alicia Fox, Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, and Lana. And Alicia Fox scores the win when she defeats Lana with the Foxy Buster, because Lana, of course, wasn't fully prepared, because she only just found out she had this match like 2 minutes ago. And Alicia Fox takes SmackDown's last spot, and the last spot in the women's Money in the Bank. So from SmackDown, it will be Alicia, Kyrie, and Mandy against Bianca Belair, Sonya Deville, and who's the other woman from Raw? Bianca Belair, Sonya Deville, and I honestly can't remember. Naomi. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, that's the women's Money in the Bank field. Big Show back in his office yet again, and he's called in Ricochet and Andrade, who are the current 2 SmackDown men in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. And he says that he knows that these are 2 of the hottest young up-and-coming bright stars on the SmackDown brand. And he was ecstatic to see that they were both the 2 men who qualified for Money in the Bank. And next week, he's going to make himself a match that he would love to see and pit the 2 men against each other. So he books for next week's SmackDown, Ricochet versus Andrade. And then we get called up from NXT for one night. It's Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan who come in to have a match. Who just come in to make the Lucha Generation look good. They get the win. Metalik pins Burch with the Metalik driver. Don't think there's much else here. After the match, much like last week, they're celebrating their win when their lights would go out, and then a message on the screen where it says, "You should have stayed on 205 Live," pops back up, and then it fades away, and then it pops back up saying, "Now you're going to experience a world of hurt." So there is somebody out there who's after the Lucha Generation, but we're not sure who it is. They're being very anonymous and mysterious. We then get the main event, which did terrible. To find the last spot in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, Drew McIntyre defeats Kevin Owens, Luke Harper, and Kofi Kingston to get himself the last spot in Money in the Bank. So it's now Ricochet, Andrade, Drew McIntyre, Mustafa Ali, Adam Cole, and Elias. It's the Money in the Bank field this year. And that ends the show. It's not going to do great because of that last match was really 81. I guess that's fine. So, thank you for tuning into SmackDown Live. I'll pause, and we're going to get into 205 Live right away. And we're back for some hot cruiserweight action here on 205 Live, which starts with Paige and her group of young gentlemen coming out. And she says, well, there appears to have been some sort of mistake because the 205 Live general manager is not shown his face here, which means that once again there's nobody in charge to try and put me down and try and make me kiss their feet and bow down to authority because I marched to the beat of my own drum. So tonight we're going to see Noam Dar and Kenny Williams after their brutal assault of Buddy Murphy last week. They're going to have their first debut tag team match, which is actually up next. And it's a 56 seat minus. I did do research, and as far as I'm aware, this is fine for a PG program. So I'm going to keep it because it fits their gimmick and makes me laugh. But Noam Dar defeats Carlos Roma of Team White Wolf, who are an actual young Spanish tag team, who I've hired in for a reason, which may or may not slowly start to be becoming apparent. We then get a singles match. Angelico and Mike Kanellis for just a Power Rankings match. Angelico gets the win with a Superman senton to score his first point on the board. We then get an interesting segment. Eric Young appears on the screen of Tron, saying that for years he'd lost his sanity. He was insane. He led that group of Alexander Wolf and Killian Dane, who are doing their own thing now on Raw. But I took myself on a path of clarity and wanted to make myself a better person. And as I did that, I got into better shape, I worked out, and that took me to, when I weighed myself, I was 203 pounds, which opened up another opportunity for me to come to 205 Live. So Eric Young, now cleansed, as he claims, coming to 205 Live. Because I did actually, that's where he has been, because he was a middleweight, and I did bump him down to a lightweight, so he is in the middle of a weight change right now. So this isn't a Mike Kanellis situation where he's just going to be there. He is actually going to be able to win the Cruiserweight title. We then get the main event, which is a 55C-. Flip Gordon Sin Cara, which actually ends in a draw. When Noam Dar, Kenny Williams, and Tyler Bate all run out, causing a double disqualification. It has to be a double disqualification, mind you. It can't be a single disqualification because this young man, Flip Gordon, is on 2 points. So even if they were to get disqualified and he would win by disqualification, he'd be on 3 points, making him the number one contender for the Cruiserweight title. And that was what they wanted to stop, which happens after the match as well, when the three men attack Sin Cara a little bit, but mainly attack Flip Gordon, when Buddy Murphy would come out with a chair, make the save and scare them all off. And then Murphy would grab a microphone and be like, no, he wouldn't. Actually, no, he wouldn't. Gonna save that for next week. Ignore that. Okay. And then we end the show, and that scores a 54C-. The power rankings look like this. We've got Flip on 2, still on 2 because he didn't win or lose. We've got Leo Rush on 1, Aiden English, Noam Dar, Drew Gulak, and now Angelico is on 1 as well. So a collection of challengers starting to put their names on the board. What will happen next? We'll have to wait and see. But next time will be Monday Night Raw. See you then.